We're hearing from the wife of a man who drowned in the Chickamauga Reservoir over the weekend. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Chapman-Whitfield.
And I'm Josh Rowe. His name was Randall Bradley, and the TWRA says he jumped into the water without a life jacket and never came back up. Michelle Bradley says she was with her husband on the day he drowned. She says all she could do was watch in horror as her husband sunk beneath the waves.
Michelle says her husband was about 20 feet from their boat when he began to yell and bob up and down in the water. By the time she got to the boat over to him, she couldn't find him. She also detailed the agonizing minutes spent waiting for the rescue crews to arrive.
News Channel 9's Sarah Hauer brings us this conversation and a warning from Michelle about staying safe in the water.
And I'm like, I can't leave him out here. I can't leave him down here. I got to find him. I got to find him.
This is the boat Michelle Bradley and her husband bought earlier this summer, something she says they were excited to enjoy together. But after his drowning last Saturday, she says she can't bear to look at it.
We had talked about it the night before, and I'm like, you can't go before me because I can't handle, not knowing that you're not going to be here, that I'm going to be living in a world without you.
Randall Bradley had just turned 51. The couple had only owned this boat for a couple of months, but Michelle says those quiet days on the water meant the world to them. And Saturday was supposed to be a distraction. The first birthday since her sister Kim passed away.
So he said, I'm going to take you out today, and it's just going to be me and you.
She says they dropped the anchor in a cove when this float drifted away from the boat.
I said, it's floating away. He goes, well, I'll get it real quick. I said, grab your life jacket. He goes, it'll just take me a second.
But as Randall swam after the float, Michelle says waves from a passing jet ski pushed him farther out.
He got about 20 feet away from the boat. He started screaming, Michelle, hurry, it hurts, it hurts, hurry, it hurts. I can't do this, it hurts.
The only closest landmark we've been given is close to that Hatch Road bridge.
In this police radio traffic from Broadcastify, you can hear the urgency as emergency crews tried to reach the scene.
I knew after he didn't come up after 3 or 4 minutes that he was gone.
Randall's death marks the 16th boating-related death in Tennessee this year, according to the TWRA. On their website, you can see that the first recommended step when someone goes overboard, even if they can swim, is to toss a life-saving device. Something Michelle says she wishes she had done sooner.
What if he would have just grabbed his life jacket, because by the time I threw his life jacket to him, he was too far for me to get to him.
And although she says she'll never set foot on this boat again, she hopes her heartbreak can be a warning to others.
If you're above your waist, wear your life jacket. No matter, don't jump in for a second to get anything if you can't touch bottom.
In Birchwood, Sarah Hauer, News Channel 9.
And the TWRA says that they found Bradley in about 15 feet of water after using side-scanning sonar and a remote-operated vehicle.
Okay, and then as I ask the questions, you can look at me, not the camera.
Okay.
I'm sure you're probably used to it by now, but if you could state and spell your name for me.
Michelle Bradley, MICHELLEBRADLEY.
And if first you could tell me a little bit about Randy.
Randy was the best father, protector, provider. He treated me like a queen every day. We always said, I always said that God couldn't have picked a more perfect husband for me. I didn't meet him until I was 30 years old. We've been together 20 years. And I kept telling my mom, I'll know when I meet the right one because I don't care if I have to wait my whole life until I meet the right one, but I'm only getting married one time. And I knew instantly whenever we met that we both knew that we were right for each other. And every day, Randy, as soon as he got home from work, no matter if he was out working in the wood shop or if he was upstairs doing laser cups because he had several side businesses, and we was always together. If he wasn't at work, we was together. And if he was off on the weekend, we would take the boat out. As we had just bought the boat like 2 months ago, so we hadn't had it out many times. But he was such a compassionate man. There's a lot of widows in our neighborhood, and if he saw anybody, even if they weren't a widow, if they needed help, he would get out and help them and do for them just as much as he would do for our family.
And what did he love most about being on the water?
He loved, it was funny, I was trying to teach him how to water ski because I grew up on the water and started skiing at 4. And I was trying to teach him how to water ski a few weeks ago. And he couldn't get it. He was like, you're just going to drown me. He goes, I'll wait and we'll get the inner tube. So we got one of the big inflatable inner tubes that has the backrest on it for our special needs son so he could ride on it with us. and we took a video, had my son facing back videoing because we didn't have the mirror on the thing. And I'm like, Cody, I said, make sure you keep your daddy in that video at all times so I know. You tell me if daddy flies off that tube. And Randy said, I want you to just keep doing donuts. Just keep trying to fling me off of it. Just keep doing donuts. And then he stood up on his knees and he rode for about 5 miles. And then he thought he would get up and try doing a Superman with no hands. And he's like, he falls off and he goes, word of advice, don't ever do the Superman.
And can you tell me a little bit about what happened that day, how it started out? Was this common for you guys to go?
It was. He had been working, he had to work last week, and he had been working very long hours in the heat. He worked at Kenco, and they don't have air conditioning in the building, so he'd been working like 8 to 10 hours a day, long hours, and he had worked like, I think, 6 days last week, so it was his first day off. It was my sister passed away last July 5th from non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver, from some medication that the doctor had put her on and never checked her levels. She was 57. And so it was her birthday. Saturday was her birthday, and I had had a panic attack 2 days before. So he said, I'm going to take you out today, and it's just going to be me and you. We're going to leave Cody at home, and I'm going to put a smile on your face, and you're going to forget about it because you're going to have the best birthday for Kim. She would have wanted you to have the best day on her birthday since you couldn't be there with her. So he took me out on the boat, and on the way out there, he had played this song by Chris Lane called If I Die Before You, because we talked about it the night before, and I'm like, you can't go before me because I can't handle, not knowing that you're not going to be here, that I'm going to be living in a world without you. And he said, you've got to be strong because we have 3 kids, you got to be strong for them, especially for Cody. And we had driven for a while, and there was a pontoon slushy thing, so we stopped and got some slushies. And he had been drinking a lot of Gatorade, and I said, why don't we pull off? I said, we'd driven for a while. I said, why don't we pull off over into this cove and get the new mat out, and swim for a little bit. And so he was unrolling the mat that's in the back of the truck. He was unrolling it, and it fell off the back of the boat. And so he says, I said, Randy, it's floating away. He goes, well, I'll get it real quick. I said, grab your life jacket. He goes, it'll just take me a second. And he dove in, and he swam he got about 20 feet away from the boat, and a jet skier had come by, and I guess the current had pushed the floaty farther out. And so I said, well, just wait a minute, I'll bring the boat to you. And I didn't know he had already anchored the boat. And so he got about 20 feet away from the boat. He started screaming, Michelle, hurry, it hurts, hurry, it hurts. I can't do this, it hurts. And so I kept seeing him bob up and down. He wasn't flailing his arms, he was just going up and down like a bobber. And so by the time I pulled the anchor up, and I got the boat turned around, I got it as close to him as I can. I grabbed my life jacket. I didn't even put it on, I just grabbed it in my hand. I jumped off the end of the boat. Groot had it was going to be his first day out on the water. He had his life vest on, and he was out on the dive deck. And I got about 3 feet from Randy, 2 to 3 feet, just ready to grab him, and he went down under, and I couldn't reach him. And I kept diving down, and I couldn't find him, and I kept coming up screaming and screaming. There was a boat about 50 yards away. They thought that we were kids playing in the water. They didn't know that somebody was in help until they said that they heard the terror in my voice. And he never came back up, and Groot, as soon as Groot saw that me and Randy was in trouble, Groot dived off the boat with his swimming vest on and came straight to me. And then the jet skier came by, and he got Groot back up on the boat, and he tried to get me, and I'm like, I can't leave him out here. I can't leave him down here. I got to find him. He said, ma'am, I can't have you drowning out here, too. I said, I'm not. I said, but I got to find my husband. I can't leave him out here. And then they had called 911, and it took about 30 minutes for the rescue crew to get there. And I knew after he didn't come up after 3 or 4 minutes that he was gone, that he wasn't coming up. And so they put me in the police boat, and they took me to a private dock, somebody that lived right there in the cove. And then the ambulance came and got me because I collapsed. And they took me to the hospital, and they gave me some medicine to calm me down. And I told them, I said, now unplug all this so I can get back out there for when they bring my husband back up. And they said, ma'am, the police officer said that you have to go home. You can't be out there. And I said, why? I said, he's my husband. They said, we can't have you back out there. So I had to come home, and I didn't get the call until 8:30 that night. And right as the call, about a minute before the call, I got the call from the officer. A male cardinal who flew into my door and died right there on the doorsteps. And I opened the door because I would open the door and I'm like, what was that? And the male cardinal had flew right into the door and died right there. And I'm like, and it was at the exact time that the sheriff's office had called to let me know that they brought his body up and that he was gone.
And had you and your husband talked at all about boat safety, any concerns you had going out?
We always had, whenever we took Cody out, Cody always had his life jacket on no matter what. While we were riding in the boat, we wouldn't wear our life jackets, but anytime that we got out of the water, out onto the water, we always wore our life jackets. So I don't know if it was because of the heat of the day. I don't know. I don't think he was cramping. I don't know if he had a heart attack because he had this. If he did, it would have been his third one. I don't know what happened that day. He wasn't saying he was cramping, but it was like after I told him, I said, lay on your back and float, Randy, lay on your back and float until I get there. It was like he couldn't hear me, like he wasn't there anymore.
And looking back, what do you think is important for people who go out on the boat to know, to keep in mind?
No matter if you're wading in the water, if you're above your waist, wear your life jacket. No matter, don't jump in for a second to get anything if you can't touch bottom. Because we thought, me and him are both very good swimmers, and we thought, oh, he's just going to jump in for a minute, the boat's right here. But never, ever go out without a life jacket. Not even for a second to grab anything. I replay it over in my mind and think, we should have just got the boat and gone over to the floaty. Just let it go. But we didn't. There's 1,000 what ifs that's played over and over in my head. What if this, what if that, What if he would have just grabbed his life jacket, Because by the time I threw his life jacket to him, he was too far for me to get to him. And then by the time I threw the ski rope, he said throw the ski rope, the current had taken it down with it too. So I don't know if it was, I don't know how, because we'd pulled off in a cove where other people were swimming and there wasn't really a current. So we wasn't really worried. But just to always wear your life vest no matter what, even if you're just riding on the boat. Because we had talked about what if, somebody out there is drinking and something and they hit us. We had talked about that, about wearing our life jackets. And we've only had this boat probably 2 or 3 months. And so looking back, I don't think I ever want to own another boat again. I know I'm selling that one because I never want to be on it again. But just to always remember, no matter what kind of current, if there is no current at all, that it could happen in any minute, that a medical emergency could happen. And if he had his life jacket on, I could have brought him onto the boat, maybe given him CPR and kept him alive until they got there. I could have done that for him.
Absolutely. And how has this changed your life moving forward? What can the community do to help you now?
Just prayers and support. Like I said, Randy was I stay at home to take care of our 31-year-old son that has leukodystrophy and cerebral palsy. Randy was our sole provider. Just prayers and support that God will somehow work it out for us.
And what do you want people to remember most about Randy, or if you could say anything to him, what would that be?
That he lived every moment like it was his last. That he always thought of others before himself. Always. And he touched so many people he don't even know.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that video you took, I believe, tubing. Do you have that video that you could share with us?
Yes, I do.
And then any other photos that you would be able to share, maybe some of the water, whatever you can find, that would be
if you
really
can give me
helpful.
the link, then I can share the video.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. If you want to text any of that to me, that would be
Okay, yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, if you'll text me on my cell phone number, the 9101.
Yes.
And then I will text you that video and some pictures of us.
Shut y'all
Great.
talking.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. And then how long have you had?
We've had Groot since he was 6 weeks old, and Randy was a diabetic, and it only took us 2 months of training him. We would swab whenever Randy's blood sugar would get high. We would swab with a Q-tip, let him smell it, put it in the freezer, keep bringing it back out, let him smell it. And then Randy, whenever diabetics, they put off a certain odor that dogs sense, And whenever Randy's blood sugar would get high, Groot would come and start cobbing his arm and start grabbing him, and he nailed it every single time.
So he probably never went anywhere.